On April 20th, 1999, Eric Harris, age 18, and Dylan Klebold, age 17, carried out a mass shooting and attempted bombing at Columbine High School in Littleton, Colorado. The attack resulted in the deaths of 13 people, 12 students and one teacher, and injured 24 others before both perpetrators turned their guns on themselves. In February of 2025, the death of a paralyzed survivor was ruled a homicide, bringing the death toll to 14. The tragedy at Columbine High School was the deadliest school shooting at the time and fundamentally changed national conversations around school safety, gun control, and policing. You're listening to Lurking in the Shadows. I'm Kirsten.
And I'm Amber.
And we're your hosts.
Yeah. Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back.
Or if you're new, welcome.
Yeah, welcome regardless. Well, there is a lot going on in our personal lives, but, we'll save that for another day.
Because this one... Yeah, this one's going to be a doozy.
Yeah, this is going to be a long episode.
Yes.
And it's a rough one, so it's a very tragic case we're about to talk about. I mean, I'm sure most people know the name Columbine High School.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I grew up always knowing what it was.
Yeah, even though we were young, when that happened, it still was definitely something that was new enough that we were aware of it, type of thing.
Yeah. I always knew about the tragedy. I never knew details, but like I always knew the horrible tragedy.
Yeah, I didn't know details either, but I did know what it was, type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, should we just get right into it?
Let's just jump right into it.
Yeah, let's just jump right in. So Columbine High School is a public high school in Columbine, Colorado that opened in 1973, but the school's mailing address uses the postal city of Littleton, Colorado. It is part of Jefferson County Public Schools. In the 2024 to 2025 academic year, it enrolled 1,710 students. But in 1999, its history became dominated by the deadliest school shooting in the country at that time. So we are going to start with the two douche canoes that caused this horrific event. We're going to go into their background and all that.
Yeah. Heavy background.
Yeah. So Eric David Harris was born on April 9th, 1981 in Wichita, Kansas. His mother, Catherine Ann Poole, was a stay-at-home mom, while his father, Wayne Harris, served in the United States Air Force as a transport pilot. Both parents were born and raised in Colorado. He had an older brother named Kevin, who was born in 1978. Because Wayne was in the military, the family moved around a lot, forcing Eric and his brother to attend many different schools. At the age of 2, the family moved to Dayton, Ohio. In 1989, they relocated to Oscoda, Michigan, where they were described by a local pastor as great neighbors, and Wayne was noted for his involvement with his sons. The family moved again in 1991 to Plattsburgh, New York, where Eric participated in Little League Baseball and was considered part of the crowd by his peers. In 1993, following Wayne's military retirement, the Harris family settled in Littleton, Colorado. They rented for 3 years before purchasing a home near Columbine High School. Wayne took a position with Flight Safety Services Corporation, and Catherine worked as a part-time caterer. In a 1997 English assignment, Eric expressed the challenges of moving from New York to Colorado, feeling isolated and frustrated by the transitions.
I feel like all that moving around is definitely, it's going to be hard on any kid.
Yeah, I can't imagine like being in a military family and having to like always change schools,
Yeah.
getting like really good friends, then you got to leave those friends and hope you make new ones.
Well, you have to also think 93, he's now like 12 years old. He's getting to that age as a boy to like turning into a man soon type of thing. Back
Mm-hmm.
when they're moving around and he's 7, 8 years old, you're still young enough that you're kind of just enjoying life, be bopping around, and you don't care as much. He's getting to
Yeah.
that point where this is now going to start mentally affecting him.
Yeah. Which I think does, play a part in how he becomes.
Yeah.
After moving to Littleton, Eric attended Ken Carroll Middle School and underwent 2 surgeries for pectus excavatum, a condition that causes a sunken chest.
Okay.
And I know he was always very self-conscious of the way his chest looked.
Yeah. I bet self-esteem is a huge thing in this.
Yeah, especially like in gym class where you have to like get changed and stuff. Like he never like wanted anyone to see that. Dylan Bennett Klebold was born on September 11th, 1981 in Lakewood, Colorado to Thomas and Sue Klebold. In a 2016 interview, Sue recounted a fleeting sense of foreboding at Dylan's birth, which she interpreted as a warning of potential sorrow in their future, but she said the feeling passed very quickly. So I thought that was like, that's not like, I feel like that would be kind of alarming. Like that's the first thing you feel as you give birth to your child.
Yeah, that is.
As an infant, Dylan was treated for pyloric stenosis, a condition that causes severe vomiting in early life. So it's interesting that they both had like a weird condition that they needed surgery for.
Yeah.
Dylan's parents met while studying at Ohio State University. They married in 1971 and had their first son, Byron, in 1978. Seeking a change of scenery, the family moved in 1989 to a larger home in the Deer Creek Mesa foothills. At the time of the massacre, Thomas was running a rental management business from home while Sue worked for the Colorado Community College system. Both parents were described as pacifists who disapproved of weapons. The Klebolds attended a Lutheran church for several years before the shooting and incorporated elements of Sue's Jewish heritage into their home life. Dylan attended Normandy Elementary School for grades 1 and 2 before transferring to Governor's Ranch Elementary School, where he participated in the Challenging High Intellectual Potential Students, CHIPS program. So he was very smart.
Yeah.
Although Dylan was academically bright, he was perceived as somewhat sheltered, which made his transition to middle school challenging for him. His parents believed these difficulties were typical for adolescents, so they didn't think too much of it. In his earlier school years, Dylan was a member of the Cub Scouts along with his friend Brooks Brown, who was an avid baseball fan, participating in a fantasy league and often wearing a Boston Red Sox cap. Okay. Dylan and Eric met at Ken Carroll Middle School and became close friends. They entered freshman year together in 1995 at Columbine High School. Can you imagine attending high school in the 90s?
No, because
it's such a different time.
I know. Like, we would have been thriving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's no there's computers, but they weren't anything like what they are now.
No.
Or even when we were in high school.
No, it's different.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it would have been easier in a sense. Like, no cell phones. You talk to everybody in person. Yep. Like, yeah.
It was the time of passing notes.
To be alive.
Yeah.
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 They formed a close-knit friend group and enjoyed bowling, shooting pool, carpooling, watching movies, and playing video games together. Eric was described by peers as charismatic, polite, and likable. He had many friends and played midfield for a local soccer team called the Colorado Rush during his freshman and sophomore years. Josh Swanson, a former teammate, said Eric was a, quote, solid soccer player who greatly enjoyed the sport. Dylan was described as friendly and easygoing, but many considered him shy and quiet. He was sometimes fidgety and nervous about meeting new people. Their group of friends all owned personal computers and that they connected on a private server to play first-person shooter games together, such as Doom 2 and Quake. In 1996, Eric began creating a set of levels for Doom 2, which later famously became known as the Harris levels.
Yeah, I know why.
Eric was frequently online under the handle REB, short for Rebel, a nod to the mascot of Columbine, and other aliases including Rebeldomaker, Rebdoomer, Rabdamine, and Dylan went by the name Vodka with a D and K capitalized as a play on his initials.
He also was an alcoholic.
Yes, he did drink quite a bit.
Yeah.
Eric operated various websites that hosted his Doom and Quake files, as well as information about the teams he gamed with online. These websites were shut down by America Online hours after the shootings and preserved for the FBI. In early 1997, which would be sophomore year, the friend group began getting into trouble on the weekends. They would set off explosives, steal street signs, vandalize the homes of classmates they disliked, and drink alcohol. Yep. Eric referred to these acts online as rebel missions, summarizing his involvement in his mission logs. Losers.
I know. We have to remember also, like, they're children doing children things, but it's them taking it to the next step because,
yes,
you know, children do things like that, and and it does not mean that they're going to turn out to be terrible people or you know anything like that. I think all of us have done at least one stupid thing as a teenager.
Yeah, it's just kind of part of being a teenager. It's just you should grow out of that.
Yes. Yeah.
In February of 1997, Eric damaged the windshield of his friend Brooks Brown's car after an argument, causing Brooks to cut ties with him. Brooks then told Eric's parents about his secret alcohol collection and persuaded them to make Eric apologize to him in person. This caused Eric to feel humiliated, so he had to retaliate by posting death threats to Brown on his website, writing, quote, "All I want to do is kill and injure as many of you as I can, especially a few people, like Brooks Brown," end quote. On August 7th.
Back when definitely you don't think that the things you put on the internet will come back and bite you too.
Yeah.
This is like
there forever.
Yeah, and but this is so new. It's like a new outlet for a kid at this age too.
Yeah. On August 7th, 1997, an anonymous person reported one of Eric's websites to the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office for online threats against the Browns, who were subsequently notified. In March of 1998, the Brown family notified police Eric had posted instructions for building pipe bombs online. It was later revealed in 2001 that Sheriff's Detective Mike Guerra drafted an affidavit back in April of 1998 for a search warrant to be executed on the Harris household after a report of an unexploded plastic pipe bomb was found on a bike path approximately 2 miles from Columbine High School. However, the warrant was never submitted to a judge. So it makes you wonder, could the Columbine shooting have possibly been prevented if that warrant went through? Because I imagine Eric would have gotten in trouble with the law, perhaps sent to juvenile detention. I don't know, but
yeah, I don't know how far it would have gone, but at least it would have brought more attention. Something.
Yeah. So it makes you wonder, would this have happened?
Yeah, and we won't know, but yeah, it's a good theory too. Know. Yeah.
Eric was described as a good student and respectful towards teachers during his first 2 years of high school. Dylan was known to be intelligent, pursuing advanced coursework, but he didn't seem to care much about paying attention in class and maintaining his grades and actually applying himself. Eric, Dylan, and their friend Zach Heckler were involved in video and sound productions and worked as computer assistants helping to maintain Columbine High School's network. In October of 1997, however, all three had their privileges revoked and they were suspended after gaining unauthorized access to student locker combinations.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. Eric and Dylan were described as nearly inseparable, and a change was noticed in their personalities by junior year. Eric was reported to be quick to anger and make frequent threats against others. Eric also had a change in style, with classmates noting that he shifted from preppy attire to darker cargo-style clothing. Eric reportedly boasted about his ability to deceive others, stating in one recording that he could make anyone believe anything. And then, yeah, him and Dylan they make quite a few videos that eventually become known as the basement tapes that we'll get into a little later. Brooks Brown recalled a time where Eric staged a mock suicide using fake blood after the girl he attended freshman homecoming with didn't want to date him. And Brown assisted him in this little trick. She saw Eric lying on the ground looking dead, so she screamed for help, and then Eric stood up and laughed, causing her to run off crying. So we're just, making a fake suicide here.
I mean, I don't know. I'll keep what I was going to say to myself for that one.
Okay. Dylan was becoming more short-tempered and was prone to outbursts of anger. He had been disciplined for swearing at teachers, slamming classroom doors. I don't mean to laugh. My cat keeps meowing. Okay. He had been disciplined for swearing at teachers, slamming classroom doors, and defacing a locker with a homophobic slur. So this is when these boys are beginning to spiral.
Yeah.
Eric and Dylan broke into a parked van in a Deer Creek Canyon Park on the evening of January 30th, 1998, and they stole electronic equipment from it. Jefferson County Sheriff's Deputy Tim Walsh happened to drive by the park after closing and noticed the two parked at near the park entrance. Walsh approached them and announced his presence. The boys were questioned about the origin of the electronic equipment, and Eric surprisingly confessed to stealing it. The two pled guilty to criminal mischief, breaking and entering, trespassing, and theft. They were sentenced to participate in a diversion program that included victim restitution, community service, anger management classes, and counseling in exchange for the future expungement of their criminal records. They entered the diversion program in March of 1998 and were described as cooperative and left favorable impressions on the juvenile officers. On a form asking them to identify self-behavioral issues, Eric checked 14 boxes, including anger, depression, suicidal thoughts, and homicidal thoughts, while Dylan only selected finances and jobs.
Was this for their intake or for getting out of there?
This was, I think, when they were leaving.
Yep, let's release them.
Yeah, so it's like nobody found all those boxes he checked as concerning?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like, that's what I'm saying. If this was, like, for the getting out of there, I think we need a little bit more work.
I mean, even if it was on the intake, like what? Yeah. We should be doing a little more here.
Yeah, I agree.
According to Dylan's mother, he attempted to justify the burglary by stating that the crime was not against a person, but rather a company, and that the incident was the reason, quote, why people have insurance, end quote.
What a perspective to have on a crime.
So people get insurance so people can just commit crime whenever they want. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, man. That's gaslighting at its max.
Yeah. Eric began writing in a journal in April of 1998 after the van incident. On April 12th, 1998, he wrote, quote, "Isn't America supposed to be the land of the free? How come if I'm free, I can't deprive some fucking dumb shit from his possessions? If he leaves them sitting in the front seat of his fucking van in plain sight in the middle of the fucking nowhere on a fry fucking day night, natural selection. Fuckers should be shot," end quote.
Wow. That's
a lot of anger for a 17, 18-year-old.
Yeah, 17, 18-year-old. For that's
like,
it's just a perspective you couldn't twist back around to let him know, like, yeah, bud, we can't just go breaking into people's cars.
Right. And why are you like so angry about the fact that you should have been allowed to do it?
Yes, it's a
entitlement. Like,
yes, like
I should be allowed to do what I want and not get in trouble.
Yeah, like what I want when I want. Fuck authority.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a real big thing with Eric Harris. Dylan is more of a follower.
Okay, yeah.
Eric eventually submitted a letter to the owner of the van that same month expressing regret for his actions despite his nasty journal entry about it. Dylan had already began writing in a journal before this, with the first entry dated March 31st, 1997. His journal was titled Virtual Book Existences. He often wrote about his feelings of depression and suicidal ideation, but also wrote about his view that he and Eric were godlike and more highly evolved than other human beings. Many pages were also covered with drawings of hearts, reflecting his unreciprocated feelings for a fellow Columbine student. So Dylan kind of goes from self-loathing and suicide to love and emotions to thinking that him and Eric are above everyone else. So his is kind of all over the place. Whereas Eric's journal entries are more just anger based.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like Dylan still had that sensitive side, where Eric on the other hand never developed that, like, through his adolescence. Like, that was not a
there's
thing
just
for
something
him.
missing for him.
Yeah.
Whereas with Dylan, it's still there. And I'm convinced if Dylan never met Eric, Dylan never would have been involved in something like this.
Yeah, I
Eric,
bet.
sure. Eric might have still done it with either just himself or maybe someone else that he got to go along with him, but I don't think Dylan would have been the one to do something like that if it was just him.
Yeah.
I'm going to share some, a journal entry for both Eric and Dylan so you can hear how different their journal entries are. All right, so we're going to start with Eric. Okay, so one of Eric's entries says, "I hate the fucking world, too many goddamn fuckers in it, too many thoughts about societies all wrapped up together in this place called America. Everyone has their own goddamn opinions on every damn thing, and you may be saying, well, what makes you so different? Because I have something only me and V," referring to Dylan, "have. Self-awareness. Call it extortion. I don't even know what he's trying to say there. Extortioncialism? Or whatever the fuck you want. We know what we are in this world and what everyone else is. We learn more than what caused the Civil War and how to simplify quadratics in school. We have been watching you people. We know what you think and how you act, all talk and all actions. People who are said to be brave and courageous are usually just stupid. Then they say later that they did it on purpose because they are brave, when they actually did it on accident. God, everything is so corrupt and filled with opinions, little and points of view, and people's own little agendas and schedules. This isn't a world anymore. It's HOE, and no one knows it. Self-awareness is a wonderful thing. I know I will die soon. So will you and everyone else. Maybe we will be lucky and a comet will smash us back to day one. People say it is immoral to follow others. They say be a leader. Sorry, his writing is kind of hard. It's like not always grammatically correct. They say be a leader. Well, here is a fucking news flash for you stupid shits. Everyone is a follower. Everyone who says they aren't a follower and then dresses different or acts different, they got that from something they saw on TV or in film or in life. No originality. How many yo mama jokes are there, and how many do you think are original and not copied? It's a fucking filthy place we live in. All these standards and laws and great expectations are making people into robots, even though they might think they aren't and try to deny it. No matter how hard they try to not copy someone, I still am. Except for this fucking piece of paper right here. And by the way, spelling is stupid unless I say. I say spell it how it sounds. It's the fucking easiest way. Hey, try this sometime. When someone tells you something, ask why. Eventually they will be stumped and can't answer anymore. That's because they only know what they need to know in society and school, not real life science. They will end up saying words to this because just shut up. People say they only know stupid facts that aren't important, should be shot. What fucking use are they? Natural selection. Kill all, and then uses the term retards, people with brain fuck ups, drug addicts, people can't figure out how to use a fucking lighter. And then he's saying God, but he spells it God. People spend millions of dollars on saving lives of, again, he says, retards, and why? I don't buy that shit like, oh, he's my son, though. So the fuck what? He ain't normal. Kill him. Put him out of his misery. He is only a waste of time and money. Then people say, but he's worth the time. He is human too. No, he isn't. If he was, he would swallow a bullet because he would realize what a fucking waste and burden he was. That was from April 10th, 1998.
So a year before.
Yep. Like, what the hell's wrong with this guy?
Very angry.
Yeah, at the world for no reason.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm going to read one from Dylan's journal. This one's a lot different. This is from October 14th, 1997. And he titles it Thoughts with a Z. Me, sorry, I didn't write a shitload in my existence, missed. Okay, hell and back. I've been to the zombie bliss side and hate it as much, if not more, than the awareness part. I'm back now, a taste of what I thought I want. Wrong. Possible girlfriends are coming then, and then it says edited. I'll give up the phony shit and up in a second. Want true love. I just want something I can never have. True, I hate everything. Why can't I die? Not fair. I want pure bliss, to be cuddling with, redacted, who I think I love deeper than ever. I was hollow. I thought I was right. Another form of the downward spiral. Deeper and deeper it goes. To cuddle with her, to be the one with her, to love, just laying there. I need a gun. This is a weird entry. I should feel happy, but shit brought me down. I feel terrible. The lost highway apparently repeats itself. I want to drink. Now... And then redacted, lucky, and bastard gets a perfect soulmate who he can admit fucking suicide to, and I get rejected for being honest about fucking hate for jocks. From the wrong people, maybe. Redacted and redacted. Anyway, here's 2 poems. To fuck me, die me. And then he says, awareness signs the warrant for suffering. Why is it that the zombies achieve something me wants? Overdeveloped me, he has in parentheses. They can love, why can't I? The true existence lives in solitude, always aware, always infinite, always looking for his love. Peace might be the ultimate destination unknown. I want happiness. Abandonment is present for the martyr. My thoughts want to exist, live in. I want to find a room in the great hall and stay there with my love forever. Sadness seems infinite, and the shell of happiness shines around. Yet the despair overcomes in this lifetime. How tragic, too. And then he wrote, my fucking dumbass shithead, I hate shit, motherfucking goddamn piece of death thought, and nothing, fuck.
His are very all over the place.
Yeah, so very different journal entries. As you can hear, he's very, he feels very hopeless.
Yeah.
He really wants to find love.
Yeah.
So it's kind of sad that he doesn't think he's deserving of that, or that he'll ever find it. And it's like, you're so young. You haven't even given yourself that chance.
Yeah, literally.
So
you wish you could just shake those kids and wake them up.
Yes. His entries are very depressing, whereas Eric's are just very angry.
Very angry. Yeah, outwardly angry.
Yeah, at the whole world.
Yeah.
In an entry dated November 3rd, 1997, Dylan first referenced the idea of going on a shooting spree, but with the assistance of his romantic interest. Both journals show that the boys began formulating plans around April of 1998, a year before the massacre, under the code name NBK, which is a reference to the 1994 film Natural Born Killers, which was reportedly one of their favorite movies.
Okay.
So now we're heading into senior year. In December of 1998, for a class project in economics, Eric and Dylan produced a business service advertisement video titled Hitman for Hire, which was eventually made public in February of 2004. And I did watch it. There is a website I will talk about, which actually, let me just scroll down, called a Columbine site, like www.acolumbinesite.com, that has all their videos, journal entries. There's a lot of information on that site that I recommend people check out if you want to. The video portrays them as contract killers who extort money to protect vulnerable students, referred to as preps, from bullies. It features them walking through the school hallway and pretending to shoot at students outside with fake guns. And they were also wearing like long trench coat type jackets in these videos. Both students also expressed violent themes in their writing assignments as early as December of 1997, when Eric wrote a paper on school shootings called Guns in School, and later created a poem from the perspective of a bullet.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That's something for a 17-year-old to write.
Yeah. In January of 1999, he wrote a story based on the video game Doom, which prompted a teacher to comment, quote, "Yours is a unique approach and your writing works in a gruesome way. Good details and mood setting," end quote. I'm sorry. Why are we complimenting this type of story? But
I guess, especially back then, Kirsten, where school shootings is not a thing, and like gun I mean, of course there's gun violence, but it's not like our perspective nowadays. So back then I feel like a teacher really just came at it from a grading point of like trying to see this is a
like,
kid
like
figuring out
I guess
life.
for creativity, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I don't
Yeah.
think they read into it.
Probably not. I mean, I don't think they did. That's why this has happened.
Yeah.
The following month, Dylan submitted an English paper depicting a tall, left-handed man in a trench coat, hat, and boots who kills 9, quote, college preps using automatic weapons and explosives. This character bore a resemblance to Dylan himself and seemed to foreshadow his later actions in the massacre. When confronted by teacher Judith Kelly about the violent nature of his writing, Dylan responded, quote, "It's just a story," end quote.
See? A kid can just write that off as that.
Although this paper was reported to his counselor and discussed with his parents during a teacher-parent conference, but no further action was taken.
Yeah. Because it
So
probably
there are
was just
red
like,
flags
oh,
everywhere.
yeah. But the parents were probably like, oh, it's just his imagination. You know?
I don't know. I mean, like, your son is writing a story about a school shooting.
But no
And he's like,
parent
"It's
wants
just a
to sit there
story."
and say, yeah, I think my kid is violent and is going to do something.
Like, this story was 100% preventable had their behavior and likeness for violence been taken seriously.
Yeah, I agree. I do think it could have been.
There could have been intervention at some point.
Yeah.
But there
I mean,
wasn't.
the real red flags were like a year before, the journal entries starting. That's when, the crime really started for him, for Eric.
Mm-hmm. And the fact that they now had a little bit of a criminal background, even though it was going to be expunged, but they had to
Yeah.
do like service work and stuff.
Yeah.
On February 3rd, 1999, Eric and Dylan were released from the diversion program several months early for good behavior. So we're 2 months away from the massacre, and they were released several months early.
Yeah.
In the final termination report, their case officer described both as, quote, bright young men, describing Harris as likely to succeed in life as long as he stays on task and remains motivated, and described Klebold as, quote, intelligent enough to make any dream a reality, but needs to understand hard work is a part of it, end quote. So they were putting on a good show there.
Yeah, I was going to say, but I mean, it's the same as if you put a kid in school detention or something.
Mm-hmm.
He's not
Yeah, they're
going
going to be.
to, yeah, he's not going to do the behavior that they did to get there,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah. And maybe like at their core, some of this was true, but whatever was going on the surface was just overshadowing that in reality.
Yeah.
Dylan was accepted to several colleges for computer science and enrolled at the University of Arizona for the 2000 school year. He visited the campus with his parents in March of 1999 and booked a dorm room. Eric applied to join the United States Marine Corps, but he was rejected on April 15, 1999, due to his use of fluvoxamine, an SSRI antidepressant, which was prescribed as part of court-ordered anger management therapy. Can you imagine if he would have been accepted to the military? Like,
no, I
access to
cannot.
weapons and stuff, who knows what he could have done?
Yeah. That's, yeah.
On April 17th, 1999, Dylan attended Columbine's senior prom with his date Robin Anderson, who was a close friend, and Nate Dykeman, another friend, also attended. Eric apparently had invited a girl over to his house that night and then later joined Dylan and the group at the prom's after party. It's reported that Eric and Dylan appeared happy and looked forward to having plans after graduation. That night, Dylan even made plans with Devin Adams, another friend, to see The Matrix at a movie theater on the evening of Wednesday, April 21st. But as we know, that will not happen.
Yeah. Did you?
So it also makes me wonder, like, was this plan set in stone? Or was it because he's making plans with someone else for April 21st? Or maybe he just, just did that just because.
Yeah.
And even knowing he wouldn't do it.
Maybe he was just thinking that nobody was suspecting.
Just entertaining the friend was like, yeah, sure, we can do that.
Yeah. I was curious if any of your research came up about how his antidepressant was discontinued not long before the incident.
I think I did read that somewhere because I know one of the side effects was like suicidal thoughts and anger and stuff.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure that you had that in there because I do think I like sometimes throwing in the other perspective too, to understand. I'm not justifying anything, but we get the entire thing of also how the healthcare system may have even played a part in this with the mental health aspect of it, where anytime you have to dramatically stop something that is meant to help you in that way can have real detrimental side effects,
Yeah, those types of meds you need to be weaned off of. You're not supposed to just stop taking them.
Yes.
Because of what the side effects can do.
Yeah. Another thing, and I didn't want to interject too many times in case, because it's such a big case, I wanted to know whether you sprinkle it in later. Did you find anything in your research also of how some of the teachers, I forget if it was Eric or Dylan, one of the teachers made fun of him, which I think he even made a journal entry or something about it in one of his journals.
Yeah, I didn't specifically read that anywhere in the sources I was using.
Yeah. Okay. I was just curious if
But I
any
do
of
bring
that.
up bullying a little later on.
Yeah. Yeah. Bullying, I think, definitely becomes a huge thing um in this, like I said, even earlier, the self-esteem thing.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I was
Yeah,
just
and
curious.
Dylan's self-esteem was very low.
Yeah.
So now all of this brings us to April 20th, 1999, just 5 weeks before the senior class was due to graduate. Neither Eric nor Dylan were present for their 6 a.m. bowling class. They both arrived in the parking lot of the school between 11 and 11:10 a.m., then proceeded to place two duffel bags in the cafeteria. Inside each bag was a bomb made of a 20-pound propane tank, a pipe bomb, and fuel cylinders. The bombs were set to explode at about 11:17 a.m., just 2 minutes after the start of the first lunch period, to maximize casualties. The boys returned to their cars to wait for the bombs to go off, with plans to shoot at any survivors of the bombs that ran out of the school. But the bombs never detonated. And on their way to the school, the boys had each placed a backpack containing small propane bombs, a pipe bomb, and aerosol canisters at a meadow located about 3 miles away from the school. So they weren't just placing stuff in the school, they also placed some stuff down the road.
Okay.
Wearing trench coats and masks and armed with 4 guns, numerous pipe bombs, and extra ammunition, they walked to the top of the west entrance steps of the school and started their shooting spree around 11:19 a.m. Dylan began by tossing a pipe bomb into the parking lot, which partially detonated, catching the attention of surrounding students who were on their lunch break. Many of the students were confused, and they actually at first thought it was just a senior prank, while other students took note of the trench coats and weapons and they ran away. The assault began near the school's west entrance, where the gunman first targeted students eating outdoors, resulting in one fatality and several injuries. The first victim claimed by the shooting was 17-year-old Rachel Scott, who was shot while eating lunch with her friend Ricardo Castaldo. Rachel died almost instantly after being hit 4 times, including one in the temple. Castaldo was shot 8 times in the chest, arm, and abdomen by both Eric and Dylan. He fell unconscious to the ground and was left paralyzed below the waist.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Do you know what weapons they were using at this time? What?
Yeah, we'll talk about it then.
Okay. All right. I was just curious.
They did have quite a few weapons on them. But,
I knew they had multiple, but
mhm.
I didn't know all what they had.
Moving toward the west staircase and a nearby grassy area, they continued their random firing, wounding 5 more students. While one victim managed to escape, another who had been previously injured was fatally shot as the attackers moved inside. Near the entrance to the cafeteria, a female student was struck but successfully fled the scene. They were shooting at students in the hallway who originally thought that their guns were paintball guns. 3 of these students were Daniel Rohrbaugh, Sean Graves, and Lance Kirkland. Eric shot 10 rounds, killing Rohrbaugh, injuring Kirkland, and paralyzing Graves.
How much ammo
Eric
do you
turned.
have?
Oh, they had a lot.
Wow.
Eric turned west and fired 7 shots in the direction of 5 students sitting on the grassy hillside. Michael Johnson was hit in the face, leg, and arm, but ran and escaped. Mark Taylor was shot in the chest, arms, and legs and fell to the ground where he faked his death. The other 3 escaped uninjured. Dylan fired down a set of stairs with his shotgun, injuring Nicholas Foss, then walked down the steps towards the cafeteria. He came upon Kirkland, who had already been shot 4 times previously, lying on the floor calling out for help, when Dylan stood above him and said, "Sure, man, I'll help you," to which he shot Lance in the face.
Jesus.
Lance amazingly survived.
Fuck me.
And as
That's
Dylan walked away, Lance heard him say, "Sorry, man."
wow. This is something. Yeah.
Yeah. This is a very heavy case. Inside the school, a coach acted quickly to lead students away from the cafeteria as the attackers transitioned from firearms to explosives, targeting the parking lot and the building's exterior. During this phase, a teacher was wounded while attempting to call emergency services, and a student suffered injuries from shattered glass. Two deputies who had arrived were in the process of rescuing two injured students when Eric noticed the police officers and went back over to the entrance and began shooting at them. They began shooting back, which led to a brief exchange of gunfire until Eric retreated back inside. So no one was hurt during that. As they moved through the halls throwing pipe bombs, they wounded a student in the ankle and later shot at Coach Dave Sanders, who was attempting to assist others. Despite the efforts of students who administered first aid in a nearby room, the coach eventually succumbs to his injuries. And that's the one teacher that was killed. The most concentrated violence occurred within the library, where 52 students, 2 teachers, and 2 librarians were hiding. They walked towards the 2 rows of computers. Disabled student Kyle Velasquez was sitting in the north row when Dylan fired his shotgun, fatally hitting him in the head and the back. After a brief shootout with police through the windows, the gunman began systematically targeting those hiding beneath furniture, specifically students of color, and anyone who played a sport at the school. And in the background, while all this is going on, there are like people calling 911 and stuff when they can.
Yeah.
Dylan fired his shotgun at a nearby table, injuring 3 students, Patrick Ireland, Daniel Steepleton, and Mackay Hall. Throughout the massacre in the library, they ordered everybody to get up. They bragged about how long they had been waiting for this and seemed to be enjoying themselves, shouting things like, "Woo," after shooting.
These are sick individuals.
Yeah. Yeah, any humanity that was in them was gone on this day.
Yeah.
Eric walked toward the lower row of computer desks with his shotgun and fired a single shot under the first desk, where he hit 14-year-old Stephen Kernow with a fatal wound to the neck. He then injured 17-year-old Casey Rugsager with a shot that passed completely through her right shoulder, also grazing her neck and severing a major artery. When she yelled out in pain, Eric said, "Quit your bitching."
Yeah. Wow. That total disconnect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are not human on this day. Like they're gone.
Yeah.
According to witnesses, Eric stated, quote, "Anybody with a white hat or sports emblem is dead," end quote, as wearing a white hat at Columbine High School was an athlete tradition. And they didn't like the jocks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Eric then walked to a table south of the lower computer table with 2 students underneath, Cassie Bernal and Emily Wyant. Eric slapped the surface of the table twice as he knelt and said, "Peekaboo," before shooting Bernal once in the head with the shotgun, killing her.
Jesus Christ.
Cassie Bernal becomes a famous name in this case because it was rumored that before she died, Eric asked her if she believed in God, to which she reportedly replied yes, then was shot, making her seem like a martyr. And the band Flyleaf even wrote a song about it titled Cassie. But it turns out Cassie was not actually the one that said that. That question was actually asked to a student named Valine Schnur, who survived. So I'm not sure how the story got twisted, because even today, I feel like people think Cassie's the one that was asked this question, but it was not Cassie.
Do you know if any of these things that he was saying to these students were things that he previously wrote in his journal?
I didn't read through I only read like little snippets here and there.
I do know the journal plays a huge role in a lot of like his feelings and things that he was saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it also really helped with the investigation too of what were these boys really thinking.
Yeah.
Next, Eric headed to the next table where Bree Pasquale sat next to the table rather than under it because there wasn't room. Eric asked Pasquale if she wanted to die, and she pleaded for her life. Eric then apparently laughed and responded, "Everyone's gonna die." Dylan told Eric to shoot Pasquale, but he responded, "No, we're gonna blow up the school anyway," end quote. Dylan noticed Patrick Ireland trying to help Mackay Hall, who was shot in the knee, and as Ireland's head rose above the table, Dylan shot him twice in the head and once in the foot. He miraculously survived.
Wow.
Dylan approached the table where 3 students were hiding, sophomores Craig Scott and Matthew Ketchter and senior Isaiah Scholes. Craig Scott is the younger brother of Rachel Scott, the first victim who was killed. Dylan noticed Isaiah, who was black, and exclaimed, "I found a N-word," according to Craig Scott. Eric and Dylan proceeded to call Isaiah more derogatory slurs before shooting under the table, killing Isaiah and Matthew Ketchter, while Craig lied in the blood of his friends.
Wow. Racist pieces of shit, too.
Yeah. So, yeah, that plays a part, too. They do mention some racist things in their journals as well. Eric walked to the east side of the library and shot toward the closest table, hitting 17-year-old Mark Kington in the head and shoulder. He then turned to the table to his left and shot 18-year-old Lisa Kreutz, Lauren Townsend, and Valine Schnurr. Dylan then came over and fired several shots with his Tech 9, killing Townsend. Valine Schnurr was significantly injured and began screaming, "Oh my God, oh my God," to which Dylan asked her if she believed in God. Schnurr said yes, and Dylan replied, "Why? God is gay." He then reloaded and walked away. Eric approached another table, shooting and injuring 16-year-old Nicole Nowlin and John Tomlin. Sadly, Tomlin moved out from under the table when Dylan shot him, repeatedly killing him. Next, they shot 16-year-old Kelly Fleming, hitting her in the back and killing her, and wounded 18-year-old Gina Park. Next, Eric pointed his gun under a table, but the student underneath moved out of the way. Eric turned his gun back to the student and told him to identify himself. He said his name was John Savage, and he was actually a friend of Dylan. He asked Dylan what they were doing, to which he shrugged and answered, "Oh, just killing people." Savage asked if they were going to kill him, but Dylan said no and told him to run. So he did. He let him leave because he knew him. Next, Eric shot and hit the ear and hand of 15-year-old Daniel Mauser. Mauser fought back by either shoving a chair at Eric or grabbing his leg. So Eric shot him in the center of his face at close range, killing him.
Wow. This is more than tough. I thought. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is way more than I thought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this case took me a very long time to do. I can't imagine what any of these students were thinking or going through. Like sitting there under a table, just, am I next?
Yeah.
Like, because they spared some but didn't spare others. Like, there was no, yeah, they were like, targeting jocks and they shot the boy of color, but there wasn't really, that wasn't like their true motive. They were just shooting anyone.
Yeah. No, they were just shooting anyone, but it was kind of like they had a motive to shoot more students than some others, you know.
Yeah. Eric then moved south and fired 3 shots under another table, critically injuring 2 17-year-olds, Jennifer Doyle and Austin Eubanks. Dylan then shot and killed 17-year-old Corey DePuter at 11:35. They had killed 10 people in the library and wounded 12.
Wow.
They left the library.
Oh. So just I don't know if you spit the numbers of the ones outside, but just 22 people were shot, some of them multiple times.
Just in the library.
Just in the library. They are just, and I don't know how many minutes are going by.
This all happens in less than an hour.
Less than an hour. Wow.
From start to finish.
Yeah, this is something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's unfathomable. And like nothing like this had like really happened before this. Like this was I don't even know what the word is. Paramount to a change in the way in things.
Yeah. Understandably.
Policies. Yeah. This was huge at the time. Dominated the news.
Yeah.
And especially for like the, residents of that town, even just the whole state of Colorado. It's like, how do you move past something like this?
Yeah.
How do you go back to school again?
Yeah.
They left the library around 11:36 a.m. and returned to the cafeteria, where they were captured on the school security cameras as they re-entered the cafeteria. The recording shows Eric crouching against the rail on the staircase and firing toward the propane bombs left in the cafeteria in an unsuccessful attempt to detonate them. Dylan lit a Molotov cocktail and threw it at the propane bomb, igniting it and causing a fire that was then extinguished by the fire sprinklers a few minutes later. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
They left the cafeteria at 11:46. They spent their final minutes patrolling the hallways and peering into classrooms. They fired several shots into walls and ceilings as students and teachers hid in rooms. The boys returned to the library that was now mostly vacant, where they engaged in a final standoff with police through the windows at 12:02, before taking their own lives around 12:08 p.m. Eric sat down with his back to a bookshelf and fired his shotgun through the roof of his mouth, while Dylan knelt down on his knees and shot himself in the left temple with his Tech-9. SWAT teams were stationed outside the school by 12 o'clock p.m., and ambulances started taking those that were wounded to local hospitals. 2 SWAT teams entered the school at 1:09, moving from classroom to classroom, discovering hidden students and faculty. Meanwhile, families of students and staff were asked to gather at nearby Leawood Elementary School to await for information. All students, teachers, and school employees were taken away, questioned, and offered medical care before being bussed over to meet with their family members at Leawood Elementary. At 2:15 p.m., students placed a sign reading, "One bleeding to death," in the science room window to alert police and medical personnel to Dave Sanders' location, who was the teacher that was shot.
Oh.
Police initially feared it might be a trick by the shooters. The sign was noticed at 2:30, and by 2:40, SWAT officers evacuated the students and called for a paramedic. Hansey and Starkey, 2 students who had been performing first aid, were reluctant to leave Sanders behind. By 3 o'clock, SWAT had moved him to a more accessible storage room, but when a paramedic arrived, Sanders had no pulse and was pronounced dead from his injuries. He was the only teacher killed in the shooting. And those students, they did it what they could.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how that felt to them, though, when they found out he didn't make it.
No, I cannot imagine that trauma. I could not.
Mm-hmm. No. Yeah, how do you move on from something like this? Like,
yeah.
The bodies of Eric and Dylan were found around 3:30 p.m. The school was declared safe at 4:30. President Bill Clinton issued a statement that same day. The total death count was 12 students, 1 teacher, and the 2 shooters. Throughout the late afternoon and early evening of April 21st, the bodies were gradually removed from the school and taken to the Jefferson County Coroner's Office to be identified and autopsied. By 5 o'clock p.m., the names of many of the dead were known. An official statement was released naming the 15 confirmed deaths and 27 injuries related to the massacre. Rachel Scott's car and John Tomlin's truck became memorials, and impromptu memorials were held in Clement Park in the days following the attack. On April 30th, carpenter Greg Zanis created 15 6-foot-tall wooden crosses to honor those who had died at the school. Daniel Rohrbaugh, one of the victims, his father tore down the two meant for the gunmen, 2 of the 15 that had been planted for those that lost their lives. Which I don't blame him. I mean, they don't really deserve to have a cross up for them.
No, they were the reason for the others to be up in the first place.
Mm-hmm. And then 15 trees had also been planted for those that lost their lives. But that 15 included the gunmen at that time. Okay. Just recently, in 2025, the death count increased from 13 to 14 after Anne-Marie Hochhalter died on February 16, 2025, from sepsis related to the 2 gunshot wounds she sustained at Columbine.
Wow. That's crazy.
Was paralyzed from the waist down after being shot by Eric and suffered from severe nerve pain.
Yeah. I mean, not only were there victims that lost their lives, there were victims with everlasting physical damage, mental damage, emotional damage. Yeah.
Not only was she paralyzed, but she dealt from constant infections from the 2 gunshot wounds she had. The Jefferson County Coroner's Office ruled her death a homicide linked to the attack. Anne spent her life speaking out against gun violence and opposed publicizing the killers' names in the media as part of the no notoriety movement, arguing that social media companies were profiting from violent content. She was also an advocate for supplemental Social Security payments for people with disabilities, supported other survivors of gun violence, and worked with rescue dogs. Anne became very close with Sue and Rick Townsend, who were the parents of Lauren Townsend, who had been killed in the school shooting, and they referred to Anne as their acquired daughter. So that's even more sad that now they lost her, too.
Yeah, that's really sad.
She even forgave Dylan Klebold's mother in 2016, saying, "I have forgiven you. Hindsight is truly 20/20, and I'm sure you have agonized over what you could have done differently. I know, because I do the same thing with trying to think of ways I could have prevented my mother's death. I have no ill will towards you," end quote. And in that statement, she's referring to that, like, sadly, Anne's mother took her own life about 6 months after the Columbine shooting.
Wow.
So this affected people in many ways, like not even just the victims, but this girl did survive even though she had significant injuries, and like her mom took her own life.
That is heartbreaking.
Yeah, there's no words. No. The ripple effect that this caused.
Yeah, this was big.
Shortly after the shooting, high-ranking officials of Jefferson County and the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office met to decide if they should reveal that Officer Michael Guerra had drafted an affidavit for a search warrant of Eric's home more than a year before the shootings, based on his previous investigation of Eric's website and threats. They decided not to disclose this information at a press conference held on April 30th, 1999, nor ever, and the original documents are missing to this day.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't want to make themselves look bad, that they could have done something.
Yeah. Somebody dropped the ball and somebody swept it away.
Yep. That's, you know, just what happens in government and politics.
Yep.
That's infuriating. These people had the right to know.
Yeah.
I mean, we know now, but that's infuriating that they wouldn't, like, publicly say it.
Yeah.
Classes at Columbine were held at nearby Chatfield Senior High for the remaining 3 weeks of the 1999 school year. At the start of the next school year in August of 1999, Principal Frank DeAngelis led a rally of students wearing "We Are Columbine." So what was the motive here? It's not fully known. Like, while originally it was blamed on bullying, it is now believed that they were not driven solely by vengeance, but also by psychopathology, desire for fame, and hatred. They did experience some bullying, though. Reportedly, Eric and Dylan were regularly called faggots. At the end of Eric's last journal entry, he wrote, quote, "I hate you people for leaving me out of so many fun things. And no, don't fucking say, well, that's your fault, because it isn't. You people had my phone number, and I asked you all and all, but no. No, no, no. Don't let the weird-looking Eric kid come along. Oh, fucking no." End quote. So, I mean, you do have a little sympathy on the bullying aspect and, a teenager feeling left out and not wanted by your peers. Like, that's a terrible feeling.
Yeah.
Like, we can acknowledge that is a terrible feeling. Nathan Vanderoe, a friend of Dylan, reported that the pair were frequently targeted by other students and that a, quote, "a cup of fecal matter was once thrown at them."
See, we have to understand also in this whole thing, we also still do have the perspective that it was not just them bullying others. They were bullied too. I mean, not justifying anything they did with that.
Right.
However, it all leads to those red flags that kept popping up if this was something that led to that snowball.
Yeah.
Why not every kid who's bullied shoots up a school?
Mm-hmm.
So why did it?
That was part of it, but that wasn't the whole story,
Yeah.
Brooks Brown even told of a time where jocks were hitting Dylan with ketchup-covered tampons. And then he's quoted saying, "People surrounded them in the commons and squirted ketchup packets all over them, laughing at them, calling them faggots. That happened while teachers watched. They couldn't fight back. They wore the ketchup all day and went home covered with it," end quote. And, like, that's fucked up.
That's fucked up. That's fucked up. Yeah.
Like that.
And like I had mentioned earlier, I think I don't know what the comment is, and you can't quote me. I've never done the research. I just know of some details. I think a teacher had made fun of them, and like that's fucked up. No adult should be bullying another child.
And nor should any teacher or adult be watching this happening and do nothing about it.
Yeah. How alone did they feel in that moment? You know what I mean? Like there has to be, I have some sympathy for that to those two teenage boys who are going through that and nobody's helping them.
Right. And you have sympathy towards a 17-year-old feeling suicidal. No 17-year-old should feel that way.
No.
No 17-year-old should be as angry as they were with the world.
Yeah.
And so you have like a little bit of sympathy in that, like what could have happened here that to fix this? Like, well, maybe them being accepted, maybe someone jumping in and standing up for them. Could that have made a difference?
Yeah.
It's hard to say.
I don't know.
And it does make me sad that two 17-year-olds wanted to kill themselves. Like, that makes me sad.
Yeah.
Even though, yes, at the end of the day, they did a terrible thing. They were terrible people. They, no 17-year-old should be feeling that. Well, nothing should be happening in your life to make you feel that way at that age. Now, you've barely experienced life at that point.
Yeah. They were children.
Yeah, they were. And it led to this. And just the fact that they were okay taking their own lives at the end. Like, that's sad.
They knew. Yeah, and they knew, that.
Yeah.
That's what it was going to come down to.
Mm-hmm. They made home-recorded videos filmed between March 15th, 1999, up to and including the morning of the attack, and these videos are popularly known as the basement tapes. In these videos, Eric and Dylan discuss their motives for the shooting and provide instructions on bomb making, but those were never released to prevent them from becoming inspiration for copycats. But there are other videos that, like on that website I mentioned, that you can watch of them, and it's also sad to think, like, in those videos, they just seem like normal teenagers making videos, having a good time, living life. And then, like months later, this is what happens. Like, they just look like normal kids.
Did you watch any of their shooting videos, like going to the range and practicing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Eric and Dylan were never diagnosed with any mental disorders, which is actually extremely uncommon in mass shooters. According to Supervisory Special Agent Dwayne Fusilier, the FBI's lead Columbine investigator and a clinical psychologist, he said Eric exhibited a pattern of grandiosity, contempt, and lack of empathy or remorse, distinctive traits of psychopaths that he concealed through deception. He and Dylan engaged in mendacity not merely to protect himself, as explained in his journal, but also for pleasure, as seen when Eric expressed his thoughts in his journal regarding how he and Dylan avoided prosecution for breaking into a van. Other leading psychiatrists agree that Eric Harris was a psychopath. Eric was the mastermind of the attack and had a fantasy to destroy the world. And I stand on the hill that Dylan wouldn't have done. I don't think Dylan would have been.
He wouldn't have
had he not known Eric.
Yeah, like he would have never went off and did this by himself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is also a very sad component of the case. Like that, he was so down on himself and his mental health that he was able to go on with something like this and see it as okay.
Yeah, and it was honestly because him and Eric shared a lot of feelings that were the same with the suicidal tendencies and things like that. And when you feel so alone to have somebody who's like that, mm-hmm. I'm sure he attached to him like nothing else. I mean, he's a lost child.
Yeah, like they were both targeted and bullied and they stuck together.
Yeah. So I could see why, he went along with that.
According to psychologist Peter Langman, Dylan displayed signs of schizotypal personality disorder. He struck many people as odd due to his shy nature, appeared to have had disturbed thought processes, and constantly misused language in unusual ways, as evidenced by his journal. He appeared to have been delusional, viewed himself as godlike, and wrote that he was, quote, made a human without the possibility of being human, end quote. He was also convinced that others hated him and felt like he was being conspired against, even though, according to many reports, Dylan was loved by his family and friends. Dylan was more of the follower and had a lot of inward anger and depression as opposed to outward feelings like Eric. It was found that Eric and Dylan wrote more about how they would carry out the massacre than about why. Dylan drafted a rough outline of plans for April 20th and another slightly different version in a journal found in Eric's bedroom. In a computer entry, Eric referenced the Oklahoma City bombing of April 19, 1995, expressing a desire to surpass it by causing the most deaths ever recorded in a single event and leaving a lasting impression on the world. I mean, he did accomplish that. I'll say that.
Yeah. He did. That's fucked up too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was definitely left a lasting impression. Maybe not on the whole world, but definitely on the country.
Yeah.
There was speculation about the date of the attack, like maybe the original date intended may have been April 19th, like the Oklahoma City bombing, but Eric requested additional ammunition from a man named Mark Maines, who did not deliver it until the morning of 20th. So they wonder if maybe they were going to do it on April 19th, but they didn't have everything they needed that day.
Yeah.
Eric and Dylan were unable to legally purchase guns because both were underage at the time. So in November of 1998, Dylan asked his future prom date, Robin Anderson, who was 18 at the time, to make a straw purchase of 2 shotguns and a high-point carbine. No charges were filed against Anderson in exchange for her cooperation during the investigation following the shootings. Dylan sawed off his Savage 311D 12-gauge double-barrel shotgun, reducing its overall length to approximately 23 inches or 580 millimeters, while Eric's Savage Springfield 12-gauge pump shotgun was shortened to around 26 inches or 660 millimeters. Dylan also purchased a Tech 9 DC-9 semi-automatic handgun with a complex ownership history. 2 men, Mark Maines and Philip Duran, were later convicted of supplying weapons to Eric and Dylan. The explosives used by the pair varied in type and were constructed from materials such as carbon dioxide canisters, galvanized pipes, and metal propane tanks. The CO2 in pipe bombs were ignited using matches attached to one end of their fuses. Each device had striker tips fixed to their surfaces so that when the bomb was moved or handled, friction would ignite the match head and light the fuse. In the days leading up to the attack, Eric and Dylan purchased propane tanks and other materials from a hardware store for a few $100s. Some nearby residents later reported hearing sounds like breaking glass and buzzing coming from the Harris family's garage, which investigators concluded were likely related to the construction of them building the pipe bombs. More advanced devices were also created, including a diversionary bomb that exploded at the intersection of South Wadsworth Boulevard and Ken Carroll Avenue during the incident. This device was equipped with a timer. The 2 largest bombs were placed in the school cafeteria and built from small propane tanks. Authorities later estimated that if these cafeteria bombs had functioned as intended, the resulting explosion could have caused severe structural damage to the building and led to hundreds of casualties. So thank goodness they never detonated. That's great. Like, this case is horrendous beyond words to begin with. Like, I can't imagine if that was on top of it.
If that would have been, yeah, that would be terrible. Yeah.
Music was also brought up as being a motivating factor for the attack. Marilyn Manson was blamed by the media after the shooting because I guess it was portrayed that the boys were fans of his music, but they were not. They didn't even like his music. He responded to criticism. Yeah. You remember hearing about that?
I do, and also the video game thing.
Yeah, which I'm going to bring up too.
Okay, yeah, I remember those. The music and because they always want to blame like the things, the outside influences like that, you know.
Yeah, and the trench coat mafia, but yeah. So, like I said, yeah, Marilyn Manson was blamed by the media after the shooting, but the boys were not even fans of his music. They just targeted him because he wore black and he looked different, and his music wasn't what most people listened to at the time. He responded to criticism in a 2001 interview after he was asked, if you were to talk directly to the kids at Columbine and the people in the community, what would you say to them if you were here right now? Or if they were here right now? To which he replied, quote, I wouldn't say a single word to them. I would listen to what they would have to say, and that's what no one did, end quote. What a great response.
That is a great response. I'll give him that. That's a really good response.
Yeah, referring to the people ignoring the many red flags from the boys before the shooting.
Yeah.
And yeah, no one was really listening to them. Or paying attention to them.
Yeah, they weren't paying attention to they weren't reading between the lines. The boys were not screaming for help because, for one, they're teenagers and they felt like they probably, I don't know, felt so alone they couldn't ask for help. I mean, even though they were put in that program or whatever, and then they got released early and stuff, and that help option was there, I feel like teenagers necessarily sometimes are not going to just openly be like, help me,
Yeah. Two German industrial bands, KM, FDM, and Rammstein, also received backlash after the attacks because the boys were fans of these bands and for the perceived themes of aggression and fascism that the bands would talk about or sing about. Violent video games were also speculated as being a contributing factor. Parents of some of the victims filed several unsuccessful lawsuits against video game manufacturers. Brooks Brown disagreed that video games caused the massacre, but agreed that parts of their plan came from video games. Eric and Dylan were both fans of shooter video games such as Doom, Quake, Duke Nukem 3D, and Postal. A file on Eric's computer read the massacre will, quote, be like the LA riots, the Oklahoma bombing, World War II, Vietnam, Duke, and Doom all mixed together, end quote.
Yeah. I mean, video game and music is not a direct.
No, I mean, sure, they might have gotten inspiration, but you don't play a video game and be like, I'm going to go shoot up a school now. You know?
Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way. Yeah. Those thoughts of shooting up a school come first, and then they nitpick from the influences in their lives of what they can get.
Yeah. On April 19, 2001, the families of more than 30 victims received shares in a $2,538,000 settlement from the families of Eric and Dylan and the two men convicted of supplying the weapons used in the massacre. So that's also kind of fucked up. Like, these boys ruined their families' lives and reputations as well. Like, now they have to pay all this money to the victims.
Yeah. Yeah. And it really affected their personal lives afterwards and where they lived and stuff.
I mean, sure, should they have maybe seen the signs at home? I mean, but also it's tough with teenagers because teenagers are so private. You know, you don't want to talk to your parents. Your parents aren't cool when you're a teenager.
No.
You know, I feel like a lot of teenagers live private lives.
And I feel like adolescence and hormones and the changes they're going through is a very good out, you know, for a lot of those behaviors.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Eric and Dylan inspired future school shootings, with the perpetrators of these attacks praising them. I don't know how you say this name. Seung Hoi Cho, who committed the Virginia Tech shooting in April 2007, referred to the boys as martyrs. Natalie Rupnow, who in December 2024 carried out the Abundant Life Christian School shooting in Madison, Wisconsin, wore a KM FDM shirt similar to Eric, which suggested that she may have intended to copy him. Sociologist Ralph Larkin examined 12 major school shootings and found that in 8 of them, the shooters made explicit references to Eric and Dylan.
Yeah, it's a huge thing.
And the most shocking thing that has come out of this is Eric and Dylan have also inspired an online fandom known as Columbiners, which is mainly active on Tumblr. While a portion of this community approaches the pair or the event from a research-oriented perspective, most members, largely young women, display a sympathetic or sometimes even romantic or sexualized fascination with Eric and Dylan. The fandom has created homoerotic artwork of the two, written fan fiction imagining alternate lives in which the attack never happened, and even recreated the outfits they wore on the day of the shooting. You know someone like that, cut them off. Like, that's fucked.
Doesn't that make you sick?
It does.
It's like there's people, I mean, I feel like all major killers have some kind of fandom, you know, like Ted Bundy.
Yeah. Even Chris Watts had women writing to him.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And what's the one that just came out with the tattoos? What's his name with the tattoos on his face?
Yeah.
He's the same name as Deadpool.
Yeah. Yeah. Like Wayne Wilson. Is that it?
Wayne Wilson.
Wayne Wilson. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Women, because I mean, he's not attractive when he has tattoos on his face, but yeah, he was a good-looking guy beforehand. Women were like throwing themselves at him even after he's accused and convicted of killing women.
Yes. But also, I want to point out that Dylan and Eric were children.
Yeah, they were 17. I mean, Eric had just turned 18, but he was 17 during all the planning of this.
Yeah. All the videos, all the things that are out there, all his writings, because he had just turned 18, like right before.
They were teenagers.
Yeah, he was 17 years old.
Yeah, there should not be adult women sexualizing a teenage killer.
That's something, ain't it?
That's, yeah.
Man, there are more fucked up people than you think in this world, guys.
Yeah, there are. You don't have to kill someone to be a fucked up person. You can be participating in something like this.
Yeah, because that's pretty fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah. According to All That's Interesting, many of these individuals do not support the violence itself, but instead focus on the perpetrators' troubled inner lives, often identifying with them. So some of them didn't necessarily see them in a sexual way, but I guess related to them because they could identify with how they were feeling at the time.
Yeah, I mean, we sympathized with them earlier.
Yeah.
We can have sympathy for
Mm-hmm.
those children.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can sympathize with them.
Yeah, I don't sympathize with them on the day of the massacre. I don't. That doesn't excuse anything they did, but you
Yeah,
can acknowledge that they're they dealt with some things that no teenager wants to deal with.
no, and and wish we all could wish that they could have gotten the help that may have made a difference. We don't know.
Yeah, or had a teacher stepped in and stood up for them. Could that have
Yeah,
done
we
something?
never know.
We'll never know.
One little thing could have changed the projection of this, and we'll never know.
Yeah. 10 years after the massacre in 2009, Dylan's mom, Sue Klebold, spoke publicly for the first time in an essay published in O, the Oprah magazine, saying, quote, "For the rest of my life, I will be haunted by the horror and anguish Dylan caused. Dylan changed everything I believed about myself, about God, about family, and about love. Once I saw his journals, it was clear to me that Dylan entered the school with the intention of dying there," end quote. She acknowledged that during the massacre, when she discovered that Dylan was one of the shooters, she prayed that he would die before harming others. She prayed her own son would die.
Yeah,
And she was
I
quoted saying, "I had a sudden vision of what he might be doing, and so while every other mother in Littleton was praying their child was safe, I had to pray mine would die before he hurt anyone else," end quote.
I gave me chills. I can't imagine being that
Yeah.
mother.
No. Neither of their parents. Yeah.
No, yeah, I cannot imagine.
To acknowledge that your son is doing something so horrific that you hope that he dies before anyone else gets hurt.
Yeah,
I can't imagine.
I can't imagine that either. Yeah.
The FBI argued that Eric and Dylan committed the massacre in order to be infamous. And the Columbine shooting definitely left a legacy. Like we said in the beginning, like we grew up always knowing what it was, what happened. Following the shooting, schools across the United States instituted new security measures such as see-through backpacks, metal detectors, school uniforms, and security guards. Some schools implemented the numbering of school doors in order to prevent or improve public safety response. Several schools throughout the country resorted to requiring students to wear computer-generated IDs. Many schools adopted a zero-tolerance policy for possession of weapons and threatening behavior by students. And I remember, we had, a school officer in high school. But I remember doors just being unlocked.
Oh, senior year, after I was going through all my trauma, I can't tell you how many doors I walked out of that high school and left for the day. I can't tell you.
And I'm trying to remember even coming in.
Yeah.
Like, I think the door by, the Franklin and Buchanan offices, those might have been locked. I don't even remember.
Yeah. But there was always stairwells you could take those doors. It mostly led to the stairwells. I remember.
Yeah, I remember down by was it called PAC? Performing Arts Center.
Yeah.
There were doors down there. I don't think those were locked.
I don't think they ever were locked, no.
Yeah, I don't think so. And so it's like, I mean, we graduated high school. We were in high school from 2008, 2012. I mean, that's not that long after this, and our school didn't seem to have implemented that many safety measures. There were no metal detectors or anything.
It was probably more out west here.
Probably.
Yeah.
Despite the safety measures that were implemented in the wake of the tragedy at Columbine, shootings continue to take place in the United States, such as at Virginia Tech, Sandy Hook Elementary School, Stoneman Douglas High School, Robb Elementary School, and the Nickel Mines Amish school shooting here in Pennsylvania. But nothing is being done anymore to stop it. Like, it feels like it's just part of our culture now. We haven't had a single president that has done anything to improve this situation. Not a single one. Not a Democrat, not a Republican. None of them have done a damn thing. And it's still a problem today in 2026. A week and a half from when this episode is released, it'll be the 27-year anniversary of Columbine. And we're still having school shootings.
Yep.
It's infuriating.
It is.
And that one in Uvalde, Texas, where there's all those little kids that died. What are we doing?
We live in a world where, unfortunately, the innocents become the targets for angry people, because who they're really angry at, I don't think is them per se a lot of the time, but not each individual anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Why aren't we protecting children?
Nah, instead we'll protect the pedophiles.
Yeah, and it comes back to the Epstein files. No one's been charged with a damn thing, including our pedophile president.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to stop there. Stop my rant.
Stop the politics while before we go too far.
Yeah, we'll go down another deep hole. Rachel Scott's parents started a program called Rachel's Challenge, where they lecture schools about bullying and suicide. In 2000, Sanders was posthumously given the Arthur Ashe Courage Award for his actions of keeping students safe. And that was the teacher that died. Gun control became a huge topic after the massacre, and there's still no solution 27 years later. Victim Daniel Mauser's father, Tom Mauser, has become a gun control advocate. In 2019, the My Last Shot project was launched as a student-led gun violence prevention resource. The campaign was created by students from Columbine High School and involves students placing stickers on their driver's licenses, student IDs, or phones that states their wishes to have the graphic photos of their bodies publicized if they die in a school shooting.
Oh, okay. I had no idea.
If that doesn't speak volumes to that we have a problem. These students want graphic photos of their dead bodies publicized in order to show that how much of school shootings and gun violence in general is a problem.
I think this world abso-fucking-lutely needs nothing but the shock factor, because I think a lot of these baby-minded adults who think that everything's all rainbows and butterflies out here in the world need the fucking reality check, because it's not their dead child on the gurney, and I think until it is. And I think absolutely I am 100% behind that fucking shock factor. Yep. I'm behind the absolute shock factor of war as well. I think everybody needs to fucking see what is happening. So yeah,
and that's kind of what our podcast is. We're giving you that reality check here. We're telling you these horrible things that are happening.
Yeah. And who knows, maybe one of these episodes some days fucking does something. Probably not, but hopefully it does someday. And hopefully we keep talking about these things, that maybe there can be a change someday, because I absolutely shock the fucking world, because those little, tiny minded people who think that, everything is fine and dandy out there, until it's their child, they need that reality check.
I agree. For nearly 19 years, the Columbine High School massacre remained the deadliest high school shooting in United States history, until it was surpassed by the Stoneman Douglas High School shooting in Parkland, Florida on February 14th, 2018.
I knew it was going to be that one. I didn't know which one exactly, but I've watched a documentary on that one, and that one is rough too.
Yeah, and Virginia Tech's pretty high up there too.
I don't know as much about that one, actually, even though that is a very big one. I don't know much about that one.
And it wasn't, I mean, that long ago. Like,
No, I mean, we were still babies ourselves then, but still.
mm-hmm. Lastly, I'm going to name each victim. I mean, I mentioned them all throughout, but, you know, there was so much happening. I want to just focus on each victim's name. Rachel Scott, age 17, killed on the grass outside west entrance by Eric. Daniel Warbaugh, age 15, killed at the bottom of the stairs leading to the west entrance by Eric. Anne-Marie Hochter, age 17, when she was shot, was injured outside the school by Harris, died of injuries in February of 2025. William David Sanders, age 47, shot in the hallway adjacent library by Eric, died of blood loss in a science classroom. Kyle Velasquez, age 16, killed while sitting in a chair near the middle of the north computer table in the library, killed by Dylan. Stephen Kernow, age 14, killed at the west end of the south computer table in the library by Eric. Cassie Bernal, age 17, killed under library table number 19 by Eric. Isaiah Scholes, age 18, killed under library table number 16 by Eric. Matthew Ketchter, age 16, killed under library table number 16 by Dylan. Lauren Townsend, age 18, killed under library number 2 by Dylan. John Tomlin, age 16, killed next to library table number 6 by Dylan after being wounded by Eric. Kelly Fleming, age 16, killed next to library table number 2 by Eric. Daniel Mauser, age 15, killed under library table number 9 by Eric. And Corey DePuter, age 17, killed under library table number 14 by Dylan. As you heard from that list, Eric was the culprit of majority of the deaths.
If I counted correctly, 9.
Yeah, I think it was 9 and 5. Yeah, 9 and 5.
Yeah.
This horrific event left lasting mental health issues on many survivors and individuals connected to the massacre. Greg Barnes, a 17-year-old student at Columbine who had also witnessed Sanders' shooting, the teacher that died, and a close friend of Ketchter, he died by suicide on May 4th, 2000. Survivor Austin Eubanks, who was injured during the shooting, became heavily medicated, developing opioid addiction. He eventually overcame and later spoke publicly about the addiction, but died from an accidental overdose in 2019 at the age of 37.
Oh, that's sad.
And that just shows the lasting ripple effect that this caused on the survivors and their families.
Yeah, decades of trauma.
Yeah, like I said, we're going on 27 years this year.
Yeah, that's really, really fucking sad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this case was horrific.
Yeah, I knew, obviously, like I said, I just didn't know all the details. I knew that the rampage in, like, specifically the library and stuff and the cafeteria, but I didn't know all the details. Like, that's heavy.
Very heavy.
I hope you guys are still hanging in there.
Yeah, I hope everyone listening is okay. And that you don't know anyone affected by this tragedy or any other school shooting.
Goodness, I can't. I honestly cannot. I could not imagine. Like,
no. I mean, in high school, I remember in middle and high school, we've had issues. Like, there was a few instances of bomb threats, but I mean, they always ended up being nothing, and
yeah,
we were very lucky.
Yeah,
that we never experienced something like this.
No. A high school near Myrtle Beach was just in the news. A student stabbed another student. So, jeez. I mean, yeah, in the bathroom. So, I mean, it's not even just, I know obviously the gun thing is definitely something, but I mean, also that is a school that has metal detectors and things like that. So,
yeah. And I feel like nowadays social media also plays a bit of an influence. Like, there's even been deaths and stuff from stupid TikTok trends.
Oh, yes. Social media has been the worst thing. I mean, for all ages. From the boomers to the fucking adolescents, man. It's been the worst.
Yeah, and like, where do we go from here? It's not going away. AI is getting more powerful and scary.
Yeah. More controlling too. Like I feel like there's too much influence out there for multiple brains at that age.
Yeah. Yes.
Could you imagine Eric and Dylan in nowadays?
No.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
No.
Well, fuck bullies. Don't bully people, guys.
Because look what can happen. I mean, even though that wasn't the sole cause of this, I mean, I think
nobody should be treated like that.
No.
Yeah, nobody should be treated like that. No. Fucking raise your kids different. Teach them to.
Yeah, this all comes down to parenting.
Yeah.
You don't become a bully out of nowhere.
Yeah, and nobody should be treated that way. I mean, I know Eric and Dylan were bullying others too, but you know, they were victims in the bullying sense as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, we hope that didn't traumatize you guys too much, that you won't come back for the next one, whatever that will be. But if you know this case, you knew what you were getting into clicking on this episode. So
yeah. I don't know that I want to cover another school shooting because, you know, it's a different type of darkness.
It is. You're right. Especially if it's a child doing it.
Yeah. I mean, even teenagers, they're children at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah. I mean, they're not making adult decisions.
No.
No. Okay. Make like a shadow and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at
Lurking in the Shadows Podcast.
If you have any questions, concerns, or case suggestions, please shoot us a Gmail at
Lurking in the Shadows Podcast at gmail.com, and keep lurking around for our next episode. Bye.
Bye.